Right, we're all correct and present. Declare meeting open at 19:02.
Oh, fancy
It's
time.
Oh, it is.
1902. 702. Gotcha. Is that what you're using there with?
You know what that
Is
is?
it? Oh, that's military
It's
time,
military
yeah.
time, yeah. It's military time, yeah. Okay, discuss previous minutes.
Okay, let's read it.
One. Oh, thanks so much. Okay, awesome, thanks. I did not think that. Thank you. I did, but I have them in my computer.
Yeah, well, I have a copy if you want some hard copy.
Sure, I will take them actually. Thank you. So who made the motion?
Probably me.
Okay.
Driving range and,
So what about the driving range?
The Rob Center
Well, that's
and,
meetings.
storage.
Just getting approval for it?
No,
the
well,
storage.
it's still working on, yeah. Yeah, it's still working on approval. They got the storage out on Route 1, that's self-storage place, they wanna expand, so they're having a public hearing on that tonight too.
The place is very bright.
Places, people don't not throw things out.
That's
Okay, we done the minutes. That's the minute.
I'll do my usual, I guess.
Yeah.
I'll move approval with that little change that we already mentioned. That's all I say.
No, I'll second it, I guess, and we'll,
So,
Aye.
aye. That's it.
next.
The questions?
Yeah.
We didn't have an agenda because we knew what we were gonna do. One
Right,
For one purpose, we
Is
always.
the-
Very long.
is the,
Oh, yes. I did see it.
She's
I
not.
did see
That's
it.
like an Amelia
see it.
agenda special.
Yeah.
I did see it. It's probably
She's
in
extremely
it.
precise.
Probably in
We
it.
will discuss
Right,
things.
we have to. Oh, there it
very
is.
good, right, okay, so we now, this is, first of this, got the list, is it complete, any additions?
Well, now I have a list.
Deletions, or,
I have a list on, so I'll pass this out.
okay,
Alright.
All right, I made a list and, this is my preferences, so I didn't include anybody else's. No, seriously, I just wanted to get mine down.
Mhm.
So I don't know how it jives with the other, but
have you passed,
I don't have another copy. Oh, we do have access
Yes, because it's
Because
right
the
behind
building
us.
is
They
full.
keep a scribe in the closet.
Yeah.
Well,
I didn't know Tim was coming tonight, so
All right,
I did.
let's do, okay, because I think the purpose of this is to come up with the amalgam final, that's it. Because
Yeah.
if you look at the thing with the selection emails, that's what we'll hand over.
Mhm.
Small
Vaguely
product.
familiar.
What's that?
I said, this looks vaguely familiar.
Hmm.
Okay. So are some of these covered
Who put Boxwood in here?
Oh, that was
That's
me.
a,
I added that. That was the one ad that
Strawberry.
we,
that's a non-native.
on our native falls ad, that
Where
were
are we?
boxwoods. We have so
Boxwood.
many boxwoods. It's
by
in
the
here.
bushes.
The bushes, I just threw it in as like
And you know what, they
a.
have Boxwood at the Historical Society of Old Newbury, and when they flower, they stink. They have a very offensive smell.
No way, I love
They do,
boxwood.
don't they, Tim?
Well, there are some variety of what we call boxwoods that are actually a native ilex that could be put in there.
Really?
So
Do they stink too?
Aha.
they- I mean, all of them,
Are they aromatic?
you know.
No, they stink.
Well, depending on the variety, some people say they smell like,
Yeah, right,
but,
that's pretty
you
much
know,
it.
it's, at the flowering time, it does attract pollinators, so that's
Yeah.
one of the things that people like, I mean,
Isn't that the English
I
garden
love
thing?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Not that I have a problem
Just
with
take out
that.
boxwood and put appropriate
Yeah.
shrubs.
See, that's what it is.
Do we
The
want
Historical
to,
Society
do you guys
said
wanna go one by
they're
one
gonna
through
farm that.
this list? And then as we go,
Check
Fred,
on Fred.
sort of cross-reference, then when we get to the end of this list, you can let us know if there's things missing, just so we can go in order.
I'm
Right.
reading it now, yeah, right.
But do we wanna go one
Right,
by
start at the
one?
beginning, yeah.
So the first item would be prune dead branches from existing trees where needed and simultaneously assess health of current trees to be conducted by tree warden Tim Lamprey.
Yeah.
Yep.
They would have
I got
any
pretty much the same thing.
any edits to
In
that?
abbreviated form, yeah.
Oh, yeah, number one, yeah, good.
Do we have any edits?
No,
So,
Not on that part.
see, that's,
So it's fine?
number one is,
Okay.
as written.
And the next one, there's a number of items in here that warrant discussion, but to start, maybe we go sentence by sentence for this one.
Right.
Remove tree stumps with stump grinder and any very sick trees. Maybe it's worth noting in parentheses here, like any very sick trees based on assessment
Yeah.
Yeah,
by,
on health assessment, yeah, because you
Okay.
already got health assessment.
yeah,
So
okay.
that, again, that is, if they are assessed as sick, it's gonna have to be a public hearing on the trees before they are removed.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
think that goes without
Yes.
saying, that's his regulation, so.
Right.
No, that's actually state regulation.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
Yeah.
nothing to do with our regulation.
Hmm.
Alright,
No,
so-
that will have to be put in process.
And then the next the next sentence is part of this, plant replacement and or new trees in each instance, plus. And then this is, I think, where we need to, cause I think that ultimately we're saying where a tree is coming down, a new one would go up, since we looked at the plans last week and it seemed like the spacing was pretty good, and so there wasn't anything that was too close where, that would warrant a new tree.
Right.
Where there are stumps, trees would go in, and then I think that there were some places that we thought there's nothing, but there should be planting, so I figured that we should stipulate that.
I think that the trees that are gonna have to come out after the stump grinding, the new ones are in line with them, about 15 feet closer to the middle
Yes,
of the.
I do make a note of that in
Right,
here.
it's, yeah.
And I
Oh,
left it
yeah.
as X, because we
X.
also should discuss that, as well.
I said plant replacement trees, 3 to 4 inch minimum caliper. Native types of at least 3 variety size, spacing, location, and number per tree wood.
Yeah.
And that gives him range to pull them further into the park or space them differently or whatever.
I guess the only question that I had.
We have an expert, we should use them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And also we know which is appropriate for the particular
Yep,
space,
location,
like
yeah.
sun,
right.
soil, different.
I guess the only question that I have there, because I feel like the biggest thing that people are focused on, is well, maybe not the biggest, but one of the big things is the trees. Like, I wonder if it is worth discussing and like outlining a little bit more of a recommendation with Tim, obviously collaborating with us.
Well, I think the biggest issue people have is that they see big trees that are there that are X age, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you say to them, okay, we're gonna take these down, we're gonna replace them with, you know, a 3 to 4 inch caliper tree that's, say, 15 feet high. And it's like, oh, well, that one, you know, that was an issue from the get-go with, you know, taking down any trees there, is that people.
They were gonna scalp them. Yeah, they were gonna clean them all up.
Yeah, I mean, but even before that, there's one of the first, as you come in Green Street, one of the first maples that's there, I looked at that one and said, that really should come down, you know, it's.
Is that
it's
the one that has
dropping
the
branches.
branch that goes out basically horizontal?
I think
with the
so,
ground?
yeah. And so I scheduled it for, you know, being taken down with a public hearing. Well, people went crazy. I had letters written to me from little children, please save the tree, and.
Oh yeah, I think my
Oh,
neighbor.
yeah. And it's like,
crazy.
you know, people just don't seem to understand that, you know, trees have an infinite, not an infinite life, but a set lifespan. And a lot of those trees that have been there for a long, long time are reaching that point. And
it's probably deteriorated since you put that notice.
oh yeah, you know,
So-
it's just.
It's inevitable.
If you could stand and scan all the trees on the perimeter of that green, there's not, I don't think, one that is a good looking
No,
shaped
that's
tree.
exactly
Yeah.
what I
I would beg to differ. I think
Yeah.
a lot of
They're not-
the trees on Green Street are pretty nicely shaped, but they need to be trimmed.
said. Yeah, they need to be-
Yeah, and in some of those, if you look, there are branches that come out, say, 10 feet for the sake of argument.
Yeah, and then snipped.
And they've been cut.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because they broke at some point in time in the great winter storm of whatever. But now if you look at those branches, they're hollowed out like this, and it's going down into that branch, which
Right.
means eventually it's getting into the tree, which is going to allow ants and anything else to get into the center. The outside of the tree looks fine, but you know, how many examples, whenever we have an ice storm, do you see trees that, you know, have crashed on a piece of property somewhere? Not necessarily in Newbury, but whatever
Yeah, right.
shown on the news.
Right.
And there's all the way around the outside of the tree, it's that much that was holding that poor tree up. And it's just, you know, the tree was growing because under the bark is where all the nutrients come up. And so just enough of it was getting up there to keep the tree happy, but it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, it's a safe tree, particularly when you're looking at situations like where children are playing. We've got 2 of them that came up on Elm Street near where the kids walk to Triton. And these things are dropping branches very regularly. And, you know, the trees look okay, you know, they leaf out each year, but, you know, when you look at them, there's one that's got down near the base an area about that wide, and you can look right into the center of the tree, which means that that thing is in
all over.
desperate shape to need to come down. And,
Yeah.
so that's what the whole idea of the assessment is.
Right.
I also think people are probably a little leery because this town has had a history of taking trees down on streets and in the greens too, and not replacing them. And I just think of, I grew up on Ross Lane. When I grew up, the street was lined with mostly elms, of course, but it was lined with trees, and over the years they were taken down. Nothing's ever been replaced.
Well, you have to remember that at one point in time, the budget for the tree warden for tree removal and planting was $2,500. And you don't get much done with $2,500.
Well, he did probably in the sixties, but
Yeah.
No, this was,
it's never been changed.
no, it was up until, well, 4 years ago, call it, when I talked to Tracy and she said that the budget, I believe at that point in time, was $2,500 still. When Peter Hollis was doing the stuff,
Yeah.
when Peter got sick, and then James from the highway department had taken over to try and do stuff. And, you know, if you're using, under the prevailing wage law, that technically would probably give you 1 tree a year to take down. And never mind, you know, taking stumps out and things like that. So that was the problem. And
What's the budget now?
50,000. But, you know, the highway department's been able to take some of the curse off of that, because now there are 3 trees in Veterans Park that have to come down that the tree truck can't reach.
Oh,
There's 2
Those
on,
pines?
yeah, way in the, I mean, they're dead,
Yeah, yeah.
but they have to come down. But the
so
only way
this
you
is
can do it.
crane work, you mean?
Probably with crane work, you know, and then I've got to get the bids on that, because that's gonna have to go out to bid, and that can take a
Right.
chunk of money right there. So, I mean, that's the issue, at least if the town can use the tree truck to do the assessment, that's probably gonna save, what do we come up with, 24 trees on the common? So that would probably save $25,000 to $35,000 in just assessment, never mind, you know, if any of the trees had to come down. So it could just be spent directly on that. That was one of the questions over the years. Do we put a special, you know, warrant item in for town meeting to, you know, get some money to do this? But now with the purchase of the tree truck, a lot of that can be done by the town at substantially less money. So that's probably the good thing about all
Yeah,
this.
so anyway, I don't think there was so much pushback, because we're coming out with a replacement plan. It isn't as though you're just sitting out a notice saying this tree's got to come down, and the public reaction will be exactly what you had. It's the selectmen will sell it in the fact that this is a proper replacement and necessary plan anyway. So
Yeah.
I think
Particularly stressing to people that they're native trees.
yes. And also, it's not all done instantly. You don't suddenly see all of them come down, all new ones go
Yeah,
in.
that was a big scare.
You go
Yeah.
away for a long weekend and you come home and there's no trees.
Right,
on
yeah,
there.
this is
Like
like
Raleigh
over,
Farm,
yeah.
over time. There may be several, the necessary ones this year, and then
Yeah.
subsequent years. So,
Yeah.
so in a way,
And I think that's the important thing to stress, is that they're not all coming down.
at the same
At
time.
one time,
And
that
so
they'll be
when the
replaced as-
hearing's done,
Yeah.
yeah, so you don't want that to block, you know, what we're putting up here. And
Oh,
I think
definitely,
maybe we in terms of the list, we actually just put that in. This is like, the plan is not miss and fix, it's sort of.
Yeah, over time. And I do strongly think that we should put a little bit more meat on the bone here to like really specify. So for example, trees that come down, replacement, and then we could give the tree list. The
Yeah.
stumps that are there, and
replace.
I'd have to go back, but like immediate replacement. And then it might be worthwhile, I don't know if it's worth, I probably would recommend it if other people agree, meeting one more time after this before the forum to finalize this, actually meeting on the Upper Green to see like, okay,
Which one?
here's where we're gonna put, here are the stumps, are there any other empty areas, so that we could basically say tree replacement, stump replacement, and then X number, I don't know what it would be, but let's say like one incremental along Hanover Street plus two, and then I think once we have that number, then maybe we do say something along the lines of what Fred has, like X number along Hanover Street to be placed according to tree warden recommendations.
Well, Tim had a problem with the ones on Hanover Street, I know he did. And I remember the trees that were there, and I think maybe if we take, and Tim can put size-wise something that would still have a tree there
Mhm.
and not get too large, we'd be all right.
Yeah, you gotta be able to pull them in closer, off the road, call it, Probably
Baseline is not
20
that
feet.
far off the street though.
It's a
that's-
ways, it's not quite as close as you think, but yeah. I know
that
what
was,
you
that
mean.
was gonna be the question I had, how many feet is, call it the baseball diamond, here's the edge of the baseball diamond, here's Hanover Street,
We got
what's the
a-
distance
we
there?
got a plan here somewhere.
How many feet did you say again that we would need to
I
plant
might-
up the
I
road?
might.
I would
I'd
say
say
15 to 20 feet to
I
minimize
just
the
keep
amount of
loving the same thing.
salt, but
Yeah, I
again,
might
Right,
not.
yeah.
part of that just depends on how the water runs, but that's one of the things that
Yeah.
gypsum
Don't
will
look
do.
for it, I
Even
just
if,
talking to him.
each spring,
You can
let's
keep
say that
that one.
the whole
Yeah,
green doesn't
scale.
necessarily need gypsum. If you put that early in the spring around the tree roots, that will salt to actually literally go down out of the soil.
Scale is
So those
here,
roots are not
so
damaged.
This is the pavement line, this is probably pretty close to the street line, so we're looking at,
Oh, this is the second page.
so looking at, over 40 feet.
Yeah, and Tim was just saying, I don't know if you guys heard him, that 15 to 20 feet is about how far off the road you would want them to.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I think you could get
He's
some
been saying that all along.
lindens
I
or
think you
something
could-
in here that wouldn't get too big.
Yeah, I think.
Just the gravel parking,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it, that's right.
hadn't we, even thought about extending that so people can park along there?
But I don't think we really talked about
I
extending.
remember.
Someone
that
mentioned
came
it,
up,
but I don't
yeah.
know if we
We never
discussed it.
Well, how,
Discussed it as a-
how call it deep is that, from the edge of Hanover to,
From the pavement, it's
gravel.
about maybe 12 feet.
12 feet? So what's the length of an average car if you do it?
Well, depends today, anywhere from 15 or 14 and a half to 20 feet. The
So-
pickup trucks, they're all 20 feet now.
So what that would mean is you would, if you want to make it so the cars are actually physically off of Hanover Street, then you're gonna have to extend the gravel area, which then means you probably should offset those trees from the gravel area so that people aren't, backing into them if they back in or driving in and hitting them.
Well, the gravel only has to be for the tires, so you can take at least 2 feet off the front of the car. So make it 13 to 18 feet. Then.
Okay.
And I
But
don't know,
it-
just
this-
having,
This is set up for parallel, and they do park parallel here.
Yeah.
I mean,
Here,
this is,
they tend to park
Yeah,
at an angle, I
diagonal,
think.
yeah,
yeah.
which is,
I think you get more cars in there rather than trying to do.
Yes, you
Yeah,
do,
and it wouldn't
you
be as
do,
deep.
but the problem, here we go with my planning experience.
Yeah.
The problem with diagonal parking is you've gotta back out into the street,
Hmm.
which is asking for an accident.
Well, if you do it real quick,
Even more so.
I feel like that's true with parking along plenty of roads. I don't know. I, for one, having watched, I mean, I grew up in Newbury as well. I've never noticed that being like a particular issue.
Is it?
No,
It's
it
it is occasionally full,
But not.
but it never. I don't know. It never seems like an issue.
Yeah, I agree, but he's concerned about the tree roots, and he's right, so.
Yeah, to offset the
Yeah.
appropriate amount.
So we just know that there will be the appropriate.
That's why I said
back.
Yeah, the
Per-
15 to 20
Per,
feet.
per the tree warden.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we defer that, but I also agree the size of them, 3 to 4 inch minimum, I think one has to do.
Well, Tim is gonna, I think, gonna make the point that some of these people would like to see a larger tree there.
Yeah, I think.
But my experience has been the larger the tree, the harder it is to get it to take. And I don't know how much maintenance these are gonna have, how much the town is gonna take care of them, but 3 to 4 inch caliper trees have a good chance of taking.
That's
Something
fair, so-
6 or 7 inches is start to get a little bit harder.
the only place I saw bigger trees successfully transplanted, and this goes way back, was when I was going to Essex Aggie, and we had a field trip down to the then under construction brand new Burlington Mall, and they put some massive trees in there.
Yeah, and they probably took good care of them.
And that's the thing, it's
Right.
it's like anything, if any of the plantings or any of the stuff that's done here, particularly like the plan that the gentleman came up with for cleaning the pond with that almost passive way of collecting the algae
Yeah.
that was on there. You know, you do it once and the pond is clear and everything looks fine, but if it's not kept up with,
Right,
then, you know, it's gonna be the same thing, and that's gonna be to
something
what degree of commitment.
Yeah,
town
and in the
wants
past,
to-
we know what the degree of commitment has been.
Well, I think there's a lot more
That's why we're here.
That's why.
active,
and,
active people who wanna see it taken better care of than years ago. It was just like, oh, that's the green. You know, people didn't think,
I'm sorry,
Much
I don't
of it.
have that much faith.
Yeah. But that's why we put it on the list. There is a maintenance program. We actually put it in writing.
Sounds good,
That
but
there
I
is.
For the
don't have a lot of
trees.
faith.
well, that
Yeah,
could be,
absolutely. And the pond. There isn't just one off we meet and then nothing happens. It actually is recorded that we need an annual,
Right.
inspection.
a line item,
I do.
amount of money
I know
for
somebody.
the maintenance.
And we put it in as an item. We'll put it in right at the last thing would be a
Maintenance schedule.
program. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's continual review.
With myself.
They need to meet.
Must have flipped everything.
Okay, so tree setback, the appropriate distance.
Yeah, I'll put
Put
15 to
in-
20, because I think people might want to know the actual footage.
Right. I think the list, it should be not a limitation list, just in case. I mean, this is a suggested, but there could be other varieties that you might suddenly feel appropriate.
Well, as far
I
as,
guess the only thing that I sort of like the idea of like keeping it to a list that everyone can agree on.
I agree on that, yeah, but
here's the cookies you can bring to school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It just, if it's sort of tied down too tightly,
Yeah.
if there's a recommendation on this particular species.
Well, look at that, the minutes from that meeting that was held at the library, and people adding in trees and things that
Oh,
they
yeah,
wanted,
yeah, yeah.
that weren't natives.
They weren't right,
Yes,
and
yes.
some
Yeah.
of them were invasive and
Yeah. And if
the wrong.
if people-
speak, which I agree.
all agree that, you know, well, geez, we could use some non-native trees, that opens up a lot.
If this gives,
They're all wet?
if this gives
Oh,
an ample
really?
selection to be able to pick sort of
Kind of a
five
five.
to six out of, we're not suggesting we have one of each, but if you can get like, because of 5 or 6 out of them, and that's enough. You may not get one of each, may not run them to, then that's fine.
Well, there's 8 on this list that Amelia put
And
in.
we're replacing how many? We decided, I can't remember.
Well, I mean, if you look at,
Till the assessment.
But
Oh,
it's all,
until we
it's all
get
gonna
into
depend.
it.
It's just
if you
set
look over
last time
time,
when they're
24 trees there, and you're replacing all 24 trees over the next 15 years, that
Yeah.
becomes 3 of each.
Yeah,
If you start adding in spots where there was a tree and replacing that, it could wind up being 4 of each, or it could be 8 of, you know, one variety and 6 of another and 3 of another, and it's just gonna depend on, you know, the growing environment for a particular species of trees in a particular spot.
And this list, I mean, this was the list that we presented to the public with Tim's input, and then Tim last week also said that this seemed like a
this
a
will
good
cover
list.
all, it should cover all.
And then it should
Eventually.
really be up to the tree warden to
Decide.
decide which, over here on Green Street, these trees would probably do because of the way the sun is, the spacing, whatever. Other things where they might need to go back a little further, they don't need to be as tall. I mean, who's the one with all the knowledge?
Let's,
So if we've got 8 here to pick
if
from,
that's enough to
then
cover the job.
that should be sufficient, right?
Well, ultimately,
Ultimately.
under state law, it's the tree warden who decides what trees are planted in public spaces. So, for instance, if somebody said, gee, on Green Street, I want to plant a tree in my front yard and I'm going to pay for it, and it's within the town's right-of-way where they want to put it, the tree warden has to approve it.
Yeah.
But then it does not become their tree.
Right.
They can plant it, but it becomes a town tree to maintain.
Right.
And that has been the issue in certain areas in any town, where people just, you know, plunk things in that are, you know, trees that are, you know, not that desirable, and eventually, you know, the town winds up having to pay for cutting the tree down because the tree just isn't surviving. Or,
That's an easy solution, you tell them, put it on your property next to the town line.
yeah. Can you put it back another 10 feet? Then you can do what you want. Right?
Okay, right. Well, so
Next is
the list is.
So what's
No, we're still on it.
So the X is what, 15?
Yeah,
15 to 20 feet.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're good, we've got leeway and
yeah.
we have the expert at the other end of the
20 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say if you put that down 15 to 20
Yeah,
feet, then
gives you.
people are going to want some kind of a visual idea of, you know, where the trees are going to go.
Now, while we're still on trees, nobody has addressed the two, quote, Christmas trees, unquote.
I saw that.
But I did.
Too, yeah. Yes.
Because I don't like either one of them. I mean, one
Well,
is really sparse,
Two may
and
be
the
a
other one
tree
is
too
bent.
far. Two may be a tree too far, and I definitely agree that one of them should go.
I think they should both go. Now,
Well-
if somebody wants to plant one in its place, that's okay, but
Well, one of those trees, I believe, was given to the town.
Yeah, if one of them's a gifted tree.
Which
it's gonna
one?
be-
I'm not positive,
I hope
but I
it's not
think,
the
but I think if
half needle
If
one.
they're both removed, because one of them looks like Charlie Brown wouldn't even take it at this point, and the other one is got Eileen, then if we replaced it with a pleasant, same type of tree, like a Christmassy type tree, then
In the same
whomever
area.
would not be all
Yeah.
distressed that we,
I don't have a problem with that.
you know? So I think that would
Would the
cover it.
Christmas tree pass the assessment test? The one that it wouldn't.
That's a good question.
I mean, it'd be
It won't be hollow, neither
I
one
mean,
of them, so.
Probably,
one of them does look.
you know, if we knew which one was the one that somebody had gifted,
Yeah.
then
On the lights.
being a group of diplomats, then you say, okay, let's try and rehab this one. Let's fertilize it, and, you know, see if we can get it to grow and, you know, try something like that first. And then if you put some effort into it and it doesn't work, then, yeah, it's,
Except you can't straighten the bent one. And the other one is really, it's too big for the site.
Yes, I think it's
Yeah, there's-
where it's being put. It's too close to the pond. It's-
Well, the two of them are too close together to start with,
Yeah.
and one of
Yeah.
them's
I mean, I
taken over
personally, I
from the other
agree.
one, I would
Yeah, I
say.
don't feel
Yeah.
strongly
I mean,
about
I
the
agree with your
trees.
statement, but I just think that was you're going to open up a hornet's nest
Well,
of,
Yeah, I could see
Yeah.
that.
Well, I think then maybe we should take them down and replace it with one healthy tree.
And what would be the
Like Jim was saying.
suggestion for a tree? I'm
Christmas tree.
agreeing, but I mean,
Either a white,
Mr.
either a white
Tree
spruce or, no, white spruce, but a white spruce,
well, Norways can get really big.
yeah, I know, white
and-
spruce get big too.
And it really depends on what you want to do. If you want it to be the town's official Christmas tree, call it, or holiday tree, either one would work.
White
White
spruce
spruce.
is native for sure.
Yeah,
Like spruce.
and
those are the big
and what
ones,
does
aren't
white
they? They're the
spruce
ones that
look
go-
like?
It's pretty.
yeah,
It looks like what's, it's a spruce tree, it looks like.
Are those the ones that are bluish in color?
No, that's a
That's a blue spruce, and I love
Which aren't
those.
always blue, but
That is a really pretty tree.
it is,
Yeah.
not native.
Well,
Not native.
No.
Oh,
People
the
won't
blue
like
spruce
that.
isn't native, is that what you're saying?
Right.
Or the what,
I
the
think
white
for
spruce?
Christmas trees, they're not going to be.
White spruce is
Well,
native.
what
They
kind
grow
of-
all over Maine.
what
When you go
kind
down the main pike, that's what you see growing.
Okay, so give me a little help here, so we were talking most, unless I'm mistaken, and please correct me if I'm wrong, all the pine trees usually have, what is it, do we call it fruit with the pine cones?
depends on the year. This year, the Norway in my backyard I probably picked up 50 pounds of pine cones off of that tree that have just
Tell
fallen.
me about it, I
And
have the,
then
what,
other
black
years there's-
Japanese black,
Japanese black pine, yeah.
Scotch pine tree.
Yeah.
No,
Beautiful
we're not
tree.
talking about those.
However,
No.
but that has the little
This-
cones. Some of the ones have the big long cones. I'm trying to figure out
A
what
white
trees I've
spruce
seen.
is
Well,
going
if
to
it's
look
got-
like a Christmas tree.
If it's got little cones about that big,
And it looks pretty good.
that's probably hemlock.
Okay.
Yeah.
The little
So-
mini babies,
Yeah.
yeah, they're tight.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. How about the big ones that are tight?
well,
What's
if you've
that?
got some that are long and skinny and about that long,
Yeah.
those are your Norway spruce.
Okay. Cause I'm like thinking of the trees in the parking lot for the library too. There's a couple of them out there, and I'm just trying to picture what they look like when they're mature, which pine cone goes to which tree.
Well, let's put it this way, by the time they get to the size that the town would have to consider doing something, all of us are either gonna be in nursing homes or
Oh, no, don't say that.
going to see Jesus, you know, so.
Except Amelia.
And
I
like for the
It
traditional
says,
trees, you
like,
have,
this
to
white
have a,
spruce logo.
you have to have a hearing for each tree there as well, would you?
For removal, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's when it's gonna come up who, well, maybe somebody in town does
Right.
know who,
I
If
think
there was-
somebody does, but
Okay.
I can't remember who.
I mean,
A Christmas tree?
I think we put it on the list, because this is only in
Hmm?
the
Once,
recommendation
right.
wish list.
Right.
Which one?
Huh?
Which tree?
I don't feel any
One
particular
or the other.
emotional
But
attachment to
Decide they're
either
both
of
gonna
those
come down and
trees.
replace
Well, one of them-
My
One
son
is
does,
the-
but he's two, so I don't
Yeah,
think
but
he'll
then
be
he's
upset.
getting a replacement, and it can be a reasonable size replacement, because you can buy
Right,
these things.
right, I'm sure
But
it's like
reasonable.
something probably
Yeah,
10 feet tall, so.
we can't get a little toy tree
No,
to try to
no.
decorate it.
you know.
And you don't wanna get it too big because it'll be obsolete in 10 years.
Yeah.
Well,
Does anyone here have any reservations about removing the trees? Those two.
Not
No,
if we're gonna
so-
replace with
No.
But it's gotta be, yeah,
with the similarly
Yeah, okay.
idea of
Because
a
that's
tree,
a-
which is
Okay.
that's like an annual
holiday.
event down
You
there,
take
the Christmas
two of them
tree,
out,
right?
put
That's the
one
whole idea of having them
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
in there.
Okay.
Except last year, they didn't
Appropriately
have it there, because
placed.
it was
What?
too wet in there.
What probably
They wouldn't have
won't
the
do
Christmas
well, but
party
what is
there.
traditionally
It
a
was
Christmas
so
tree is
wet.
a balsam, but they don't do well as far south, do they? Not really.
Not really, I
Not
mean,
really,
there are some new varieties that are more tolerant of the warmer summers.
Really?
Yeah, we've got, two on the property line that were planted years ago, and one of them gets the real hot afternoon sun and it's pretty sketchy looking. And then the other one that's a little more protected by some other trees on the other side actually looks pretty good, but that's gonna be out, as they say in the trade, under the flagpole type of sun, you know, so it's just gonna be trying to find the right thing to put in there. I mean, yeah, you gotta be careful, because you ever go up Route 1, and before you get to Salisbury Square, where their common is,
yes.
somebody had planted a little spruce tree in honor of their father who had died, and didn't ask anybody about planting it, they just went there and planted it. Well, now the branches are starting to grow out towards the sidewalk on that side, which means eventually they're gonna be growing out onto Route 1. And when that happens, then the state's gonna step in and say, you know, well, we're gonna prune this back for safety and whatever else, and so, you know,
You really can't
But
prune
those are gonna
them.
be in the middle.
No,
right?
they
Yeah,
didn't look
that's-
like Christmas
Well,
trees.
well,
Yeah.
you can prune them,
Okay,
but not
so-
one side.
What,
Yeah.
no,
Well,
what nomenclature would you use for the trees? Is there another word other than Christmas tree? Now I'm being
Are we
very
doing
politically
spruce
correct.
or-
Evergreen, evergreen.
Yeah.
Okay, remove the
It's
two
like a conifer, isn't it?
evergreen
and
trees.
replace,
As opposed to deciduous.
right,
Yeah.
and replace with single evergreen.
appropriate evergreen tree.
Appropriate, yeah.
So
Yeah,
what
just to
were
give
your
you-
suggestions? White spruce, was there a second
And I
one?
put
I can't recall.
Norway spruce.
Norway,
White
or Norway, white pine, white spruce was it?
White
Was
spruce.
it white spruce or white pine? you said?
White
I'm sorry.
spruce, oh, not pine.
I mean, white pine is what you
That's the
see
picture.
down on the lower green.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that's
they,
like a
yeah, I was-
healthy,
it's,
happy little.
And let's see, Norway spruce.
Or Norway's.
Okay, Tim.
Right.
Where does the Norway spruce come from?
Right, we wanna make sure it's
Seabrook.
native.
Norway.
Oh, I've heard two
Norway,
stories.
Maine.
That's right, I've heard two stories. Norway, the country, and the other thing is Norway, Maine. Now, which is true?
Yeah,
It's
I
both
don't know
true.
the answer to
You
that.
don't either. Oh.
I-
So, it's just that, you know, the Norways do natively grow around here. You see a lot of them. They're not
Yeah.
planted by people, they just are growing there.
Spread, yeah.
Yeah.
And that,
Okay, good.
Birds.
I know Norway pine, red pine, is from Maine. They grow nuts in Rangeley, so I do know that, but I didn't know
Where we at?
Anyway.
Okay, right, so we've done that, that's
Yeah,
good,
right, good
excellent.
for you, move it along.
The gypsum, we discussed that, and
That's non-controversial, I
it's
think.
not on, and we've all know what needs to be done.
Is it worth noting, Tim, what you said, that basically is gonna come out of the tree warden budget?
Yeah, the initial,
Well, that's neither here nor there, we're just
What
making
you, what you need to
recommendations.
do is
Okay.
find the price per pound of that stuff, right? And figure out how many pounds that we need and.
But we don't need to know that, this is a
But
recommendation.
that, right. But, the whole idea was that they were gonna look into the cost of applying this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And,
See, probably would be cost.
maybe at the end we should have a mention of the $50,000 that was bequested to help
Yeah.
defray the costs.
Yes,
no,
because this will be.
there's probably no frost in the ground right now.
Nope,
Not until this weekend.
Before spring, couldn't this stuff be put down before all the kids get out there and start playing in it? Could it be put down and then spring rains could wash
the
it
first rainstorm is gonna take it out of the area where it would be any problem with the kids, so to speak. I mean, it's an organic mineral, we put it down. My thought is too that gypsum also helps to keep the salts and the road salt things from clinging to the particles of soil.
yeah, even that,
So you put that down, let the rains get to it, and that could wash it down. And that, literally, as soon as the snow melts in the spring, then you can put that down. Once it's dry enough that,
It's
I
gonna
don't,
get in March now.
yeah, it could
Could
be
be.
March. Yeah.
Oh, season's spreading
And then,
wrong way.
I don't know whether they would use a tow-along behind type of spreader. I know you can rent those. And that
Well,
would
they
be
got
something.
they have a John Deere tractor, they have a
yeah,
spreader for
they
it.
do.
Do they have a spreader for it?
Yeah.
Okay.
They
Then
do that for fertilizer, yeah.
Yeah, that's the easiest thing to do then, just take
You know,
that
it's
out
an
there.
ideal machine.
Yeah.
To use, they have it already.
Yeah,
Well,
they're all-
it would do it quickly, and
They just bought
I
it
did talk
a
to
couple years
James in the fall, and he said that he had a source for both the lime and the gypsum. So,
I don't think that's controversial
No,
anyway.
so, and the one, apply the line,
Okay,
two down as well.
Yeah, that's right, that's the same
It's the
situation.
same thing, those two.
So we're
yeah.
good with those two.
Put those, yeah.
Now, the drain outlet though is a little,
Yeah.
this is not too detailed here, but
The,
I'm telling you, I was out there, I've been out there a couple of times since, and that pond is 1.5 inches above the outlet, so there's something wrong beyond that grade.
the overflow has been blocked somewhere down.
Somewhere, something is wrong, which needs to be addressed, so,
So should I say, rather than fix the outlet, drain, remove blockage from?
Yes,
do you think that outlet is tied into that storm drain? run?
absolutely, yes.
So
It
It's
is.
caved in?
yeah, it might be, but
Yes, probably related, but who knows? We don't know. for
I
sure.
know.
It looks, as I look at it, and I look down in the catch basin, and then I look at the pond, I haven't had anything to measure, but it looks like the water is lower in the catch basin than it is in the pond, so.
does
I
that
think
run
it
out to
might be-
Parker Street, or does it run out to?
That's a
High
good
Road?
question. That's a great question. Traditionally, it always went
does it stay on the thing here where it
to
goes?
Merrimack River, it went out to, Meeting House
The big
Pond,
ones.
Meeting House Pond drained naturally to,
Johnson.
Johnson's Pond, over to Gas House Pond in Newburyport, and out to the Merrimack. Dick Cunningham told me that years ago they changed the drainage and they changed it and directed it out Parker Street. But what's the right answer? I don't know.
This is the one down, this end of it,
Mhm.
not the one down there.
No, listen,
No,
It's
yeah,
this, it is the one there.
yeah,
there's nothing here.
Okay.
it's the baseball field. Yeah,
There's
this
nothing,
is
I
the
thought it was-
town hall.
Okay,
It looks,
so it looks,
to look at it, like it still goes the other way to the Merrimack River, but I don't know.
yeah, there must be something.
So we currently have remove blockage to outlet drain,
Correct, yeah, how about correct outlet drain so that it drains the pond down to the proper, to its I don't
VGC.
think they call it a natural level, but you gotta correct the outlet so that it drains properly, how's that? And that fine mesh grate there is gonna give them fits as soon as the things get stirred up, all those leaves are gonna get caught in it and any storm and it's gonna plug up again, it just doesn't all the time.
What's VGC? Says VGC to be removed. And then it goes
I
out
hate
there.
abbreviations.
I do, is that all? Is that what it is?
Which
This
one?
corral.
They have
I have no idea.
What's
Right
that?
here, VGC to
No,
be
I'm
removed.
looking at, V1.
The-
Mine's bigger at night.
what was it?
Vegetation, must be vegetation.
Oh, they do, yeah.
Oh.
Right, so I have
Never
now,
seen it before.
They get, well, all in that whole walkway that
Oh,
goes
yeah,
along the
probably.
pond there.
Yeah,
it's
that's probably it. That's all that
grass
is.
growing in between the
And
stones.
also there's a hole there. that's-
Yeah, we took
yeah, we
that.
have
Yeah,
that
they go
on
to-
the list. It's on the list.
Well,
Yeah, so,
that was noted, the first walkthrough that we did there
Yeah,
back in
And that
August,
hole,
was
yeah,
it?
Yeah,
and
there's
that
still a
hole
barrel.
straddles
Well,
the highway line.
There
Yeah.
was just a cone there, and then they put a barrel there, and
Now,
they're gonna have to park a truck on it if it keeps caving.
the town's gonna say, well, that's the state's problem, the state's gonna say that's the town's problem. It looks to me like it's both.
okay,
Alright,
so
so
what
I
have
currently
you,
have
Something
Correct.
that's gotta be addressed.
what have you corrected on that one?
It is
So
a
I've
state
got
problem, it's a state
Fred's
sketch base.
terminology, correct the outlet drain to facilitate pond drainage to appropriate level.
Brilliant.
That sounds good.
Okay, the flagpole there was no debate on, you repair or replace.
Yeah, except that, it says repair and paint flagpole, or replace if
Yeah.
necessary,
Yeah,
which is right at the base, or replace if
Yeah,
necessary.
to put the word replace in, just in case they find it needs to be.
And
I
do
give
have
on,
the-
just
I
thinking
do
of
have
Tim,
that
and he talks
story.
about how rot migrates, we don't know, it might be further up in there somehow.
yeah.
Might be,
Right here. This is from
That's an old
1961.
It's an
that
old
Paul was
boat,
put
yeah.
in.
really?
It's- I
That's
got
only-
a
it's only
story
looked that
out of the paper, yeah.
Yeah, you look that up.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay, and,
Percival M. Lowell built that.
done a pretty good job. It's lasted this long.
Yeah.
Next is the paint backstop.
No comment.
That's-
Wasn't
That's
it supposed,
fine.
didn't somebody correct me last week and say it needed to be repaired in some places also?
Yeah, when we looked at it, a few of the boards needed to be.
Yes, some of the boards need,
Oh, really?
yeah,
Yeah,
but, yeah, there was some boards that were,
It rotted boards.
yeah, on the,
and broken and bent,
Right.
you know, they're just
just,
twisted
So
and
just
pulling the
add,
fence apart.
Repair and replace,
And
Yeah.
replant,
yeah.
repaint.
Okay.
Repaint, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, just,
That's,
Repair
that's,
where necessary
that's
and
an easy,
repaint
No,
the
right.
entire.
fix, and something like that will be instant gratification, it'll look like something's getting done.
Not that it matters a lot, but in the recent past,
okay,
the league, the baseball league has done all that work.
And they probably would,
and they do
gladly
again.
do it.
In fact, I think someone mentioned
Yeah,
that,
We were
the
gonna get
hearing.
children.
But that's neither here nor there, who does it, right?
Right.
yeah,
The farm teams behind it, I thought was a very good suggestion. and
Yeah,
all
that was
that.
Jan's
But,
suggestion.
It
sounds like Boxwood is out.
Boxwood
As much
maybe,
as I
yeah.
love Boxwood.
Yeah.
and
Well,
I
take
have
the
to
word
love-
boxwood out and
Right.
As
And
That's
just
all you gotta do.
just put in shrubs.
Shrubs,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and then it
Yeah.
can just be determined
Oh, yeah.
who's what, when, and where.
Hey, Jim?
sure.
No, you have to stand the whole thing.
Hello.
Have a seat.
I always sit in the car.
Is it worth suggesting some shrubs
No.
or no?
No.
Not worth.
No, I don't think it's worthy. I mean, I don't think you have to do that.
Okay.
But as put in, as deemed necessary, whatever.
Yeah, I'll just say plant shrubs behind each of the two baseball benches.
Yep.
Yeah,
Plant
but I
them.
do like the fact that, I mean, this is Jan's point, so I'm just stealing it, but the fact that it's a safety barrier, so it is a
Yeah.
nod towards what people are asking for, I think it's a good compromise.
Okay, clean up the walkway by, oh yes, that was, pretty messy down there.
it's just ugly, looks bad.
So, I don't think there's any
All the
debate
real
on that.
action's taking place next door, you know.
Yeah, they sent me in here to have you guys calm down.
It's happened before.
The excitement,
Okay.
total excitement.
So did we settle on the trees? Did we settle to 3 to 4 inch minimum caliper? Did we
I
settle?
added that.
Okay.
Yes, that was.
I think that's gonna be too small.
Standard street tree planting.
Is it?
I'm telling you, they have a better history of surviving.
That's,
That's
is that,
important.
when they say calipers, that's circumference or diameter?
No, that's at what height is that? 5 feet, I think.
Well, they call it DBH, diameter and breast height, in other words, 4 feet off the
4
ground.
feet, is it?
And it's, the 3 to 4 inches is this way,
Yeah.
not,
Yeah, it's like
Alright,
this.
so it's the
Right.
diameter.
So that's pretty
Yeah.
good.
It's like
That's
that.
good. Yeah, I think that'd be a good size.
When I first read it, I was like.
Okay, next one,
And they get staked, so.
plantings
Right.
around the
Yep.
various monuments, memorials, which is. Next page on
Tim, who's in charge of maintaining those right now, those plantings, if anyone?
nobody, as far as anybody knows.
Okay, so it wouldn't be like James.
Should they?
I
I mean-
think there's a garden club in Newbury,
Yeah.
Garden Club. I think that,
that. Have they been asked?
yeah, I think that would be
Maybe we asked them.
Well,
something to approach them and see if they
Yeah.
I know in
not
Merrimack,
for maintenance, but just to get some good flowers in
if you've driven up through the center of Merrimack, there was always very spectacular looking plantings there, and that, the Garden Club in Merrimack did it. But over the years, people were aging out and just couldn't do it anymore, so I don't know who's doing the planting.
I
there.
think that's,
So,
I
mean,
also
that's-
think that's what
Well,
happened.
I can tell you a little story.
Wow.
Sylvia Lunt, when she was alive, did that stuff.
So,
Right, I knew
And
something.
the horse trough at Green and Hanover and High Road, that horse trough that has plantings in it, she always took great care of that. And now, I don't know, one of your neighbors does it. I don't know
I think
who it is.
I think Scott, Scott, who lives sort of close to the end of the dead end. I think he has done in the past, but when I last saw him, he said that he's just gotten so busy that he hasn't done it.
Yeah, it
recently.
seems that way, right?
Yeah.
It's not like when Sylvia took care of
we need perennials.
Yeah.
That will not grow crazy, but
We also need to ask the garden board, someone's got to take.
it. Well, that's a good point.
Ask
We
them.
don't, but the selectmen need to ask.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm
Do
sure
you want me to
they'll be-
add
I'm not so sure.
solicit volunteers to maintain
Flower beds, put it that way.
Yeah,
flower beds.
and you can
That
put,
covers everything.
you can
Yeah.
put,
That's pretty good.
Right, and
Okay.
I had in brackets, do we want to list any varieties, or we basically just whoever's doing that, let them?
Yeah.
Flowers?
We don't want to.
No, that's, my constraint as well.
Do you want me to, Jan, add, like, for perennial plants, are perennials the ones that come up each year without?
No, well, yeah.
Annuals, you have to
Annuals
put
are
in.
good
Keep
for
coming, right?
One
yeah.
year.
a
So do
year.
you want me to say do perennial
I mean,
plants?
sometimes you do a little bit of each.
That's right.
Because the
Either one.
perennials come out sometimes mid to late summer and people
Right,
want
perennials
things in the
are-
early springs or whatever you
Mainly.
plant, I mean,
Mainly perennial.
you know.
Annual
spirea,
meeting is
salvia,
once a year, a perennial problem is one you always have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I could also be silent if you guys want both types of.
I would leave it alone.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair. So we'll just
So we'll
whoever.
do that. Okay. The, that old chestnut, the pond aerator.
Yeah, we never really
no.
came to
We,
a conclusion on this.
Now we have
Well,
that center thing here.
yes.
What was his recommendation?
Well,
Has anybody had a chance to look at this?
the thing that he's
Yes.
got in there does seem to be working to get the algae out of there.
Right.
And it's all basically just wind driven. The algae moves around the pond, you know, in the wind, and this blows it into this, basically a collection system. And they pull the algae out of there.
Right.
And so once the algae gets out, you just deploy the thing whenever you need it again.
Mm.
as opposed to something that's in there.
It's
So
April.
it looks like I'm not quite sure from reading if it was a plan that, an item that he came up with, because he wrote prototype in there.
Yeah,
And
right.
if
Right,
it's a
it
prototype and the last couple of years, it
There's
seems to,
patents on
Yeah.
this stuff.
then,
Yeah, it all blows into the thing
Yeah.
that's scooped up. And what it doesn't say is no recommendation that this has to be done at a certain number of times over a period, and that's because some of their tests found that there was no bloom in certain years, like at all, which is
Yeah.
quite.
There might be a relationship to what got fertilized when,
Yeah,
I don't know.
the year that they had very little of it, what I remember reading was the year we had the driest summers.
I don't doubt it,
Because
no runoff.
it's gotta have runoff of some kind to keep feeding it, so the feedings can come from any number of sources, but it's generally the phosphorus.
How much it costs, the whole thing, and who paid for it?
No, he did that on his own. He was experimenting and
Yeah.
Oh, 'cause it was a
developing
proof
the
of concept.
technology.
Oh, so we
Yeah.
were helping with his thesis then, weren't we?
Yeah,
So, well, but we may need to call him again, or if he's, because he has his own company. That is pretty interesting.
yeah.
I haven't had a chance to read.
But I think we put it, when we get to the final one we haven't put in, which is like maintenance and ongoing, we figured this in.
Higgins.
So you tie in that the pond will need to be looked at as and when, you know.
Well, if the water flow increases, then you're less likely to have the algae develop anyway.
Yeah.
So if,
Yeah, right. It's,
So that was the idea of the
Cause
aerator,
yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Well, not
you
so
said
much
there
that,
was one
but-
there before?
Yeah,
Or
there
is
is
there-
one in there.
There is one in there now, just the
It
doesn't
pump's
work.
gone on it or
I have
something?
no idea.
Yeah.
It
Doesn't work.
It's at the bottom of the thing, but who knows?
Pardon?
If you, there's talk about it being there, but has it?
Well, I saw it working, so I know it was
Yeah,
there.
right.
Mr.
Yeah.
Higgins must have come across it in his,
He doesn't mention.
Tracks
No, he
through
didn't
the
walk out in
water.
the middle of the pond.
no?
Here's a dumb question, but I know that algae is ugly and in some cases it can be dangerous, but what's the reason for remove? Is it just visual?
Yep.
It's aesthetic.
I think so.
I think the geese like to eat it too,
I think the geese cause
don't they? Yeah.
So it's mainly aesthetic.
it. Goose poop, high nitrogen.
Yeah, I mean, it does say it's harmful bacteria. That's what in HAB is, harmful.
Yeah, I know
algae
certain
bacteria,
blooms
so
can be
blue.
dangerous.
So,
Can be, yeah.
and it may be, as he says, there's a whole lot of life in here, including turtles, which I'm surprised, frogs and stuff. Yeah.
Well, I haven't had time to read it, but I'll say
Maybe,
read it before
maybe
we have
it
our.
is harmful, so, I mean, I don't know, but.
I just saw
At one point, it was weird. At one point when he was doing it, it almost cleared out all the algae. I've never seen it be so clear since then, even when he's been there. But at one point, I mean, it was like totally clear.
Right, yeah. I mean,
And then it never really got back to that, even when he was doing it. I don't know why that one time it worked so well.
Now, I have a quarter-acre pond on my property, just for this example, and it's as clear as a bell today. And of course, the sun angle is, not producing a lot of energy, but it drains from agricultural fields, which get fertilized. And by this time, I would say by the end of April at the latest, but probably by mid-April, my pond will be all kinds of algae. So it has a lot to do, I think, with the sun and with what's running into the pond.
algae has to have something to eat. If nothing's running
And I'm
in
not
there.
gonna shut down the agriculture, so I have to suffer with it.
He mentions about there was none in the years 2016 or 17, so he's been doing this for a while.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it wasn't until September and October 2018 that they started. There's some references to weather as well.
That's because we had a lot of rain.
Rain, yeah.
Well, the analysis is on the back page.
Yeah. But anyway,
of
I'm
the
wondering
sediment
whether
and stuff, so.
we, for the pond and its cleanliness, wrapped up with his work, that we
That's fine with me.
We-
How would you phrase it?
We enlist him again, should it come back,
A maintenance thing.
the means.
Okay. And do we think, because I know there's been debate on this too, does an aerator help? I think
Well,
you said you
Well,
could.
he said, yeah, he told me he didn't think it would help
Would
at all.
Right, yeah, I think,
I don't know, I use an aerator in mine, doesn't seem to do, well, no, it does actually make a difference in mine. Yeah, I don't get floating algae anymore, now I get, what do you call the kind of algae that's in the water and doesn't get up to the top, you can see down about that far into the water, and that's it.
String algae?
I don't know, no, it's not string,
right.
but it's, I still get algae, but it's a different
Same.
type, the surface is somewhat clear.
Maybe you ought to discuss it with Mr.
Yeah.
And you want him to give him a call and you can ask him about adding fixing the aerator, if the two combined would keep the thing much clearer, how's that?
Well, what you could put in there is,
It is.
repair the pond area.
Delegating duties.
Yeah,
Because that just might be nothing more than a pump and raising it up off the bottom, so it doesn't.
it's probably stuck in all that sludge. They
Oh,
mentioned
Yeah, as soon as you put air in it, it blows that stuff
Yeah,
away
they
anyway.
mentioned that about how the sediment's pretty fancy, yeah. I mean, I think,
So Fred, you're gonna get in touch with
Yep.
Jonathan?
yeah, I think we,
So it's repair or replace or
we review
discuss.
algae bloom, or whatever they call it here.
We could also wait on this until we hear from Fred and what this guy says.
Yeah, could do, but I mean, it's,
I can't do that.
we leave the
I can do
item.
that at the next meeting, but I can't communicate with you
Correct.
No, well, we
in
can-
a non-public meeting.
You can send her information, you
I
can
can
have a
send her,
discussion.
and her only.
Yes, yeah.
right.
Because I figure
We can
that
do
before the next meeting, I'll be updating this anyway, so you can send it to me and I can do it for free.
Yeah, okay,
Okay, so I'm gonna leave that as sort of open.
And where do I send it to you?
Amelia. Dot random at gmail.com.
That's it?
That's it.
What's
No, when, at something.
Oh, at gmail.com.
Oh, okay.
It's on the emails that you give too, so.
Oh, okay.
um,
I gotta pay attention.
what was the sinkhole near the pond?
That's the one, I thought that you had mentioned, it's that hole
Oh,
near
yeah.
the drain.
Yeah, it's full of water when I went round the other day. It's completely,
Yeah, it's got a barrel on it.
yeah, this.
Yeah.
No, the one with the
Uh,
barrel on it. Yeah, the one with the barrel on it's the,
By the pond.
by the pond.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Where the crosswalk, right
Why,
at
is
the
there
end of the
another one?
yeah,
crosswalk.
no.
So it's right here. Crosswalk's here, right?
yeah, it's right by the crosswalk.
Because the bank's here.
Is it
It's in
above
front
the
of the
drain
bank, so
thing?
maybe that's it. No, that's a linden
That's the
tree.
Linden tree. So it's sort of
We know
like
It'd be
where-
down here,
You know
right?
where it is.
somewhere here.
Right
Yeah.
here.
Somebody's gonna lose their
That's
Volkswagen.
a catch basin there,
Very soon.
and that looks like,
It's
A
catch
problem.
basin, yeah.
and this is the right-of-way line, maybe. But don't forget, that catch basin is probably the state's. And that hole is between the catch basin and the street.
Yeah, anyway, that has to stay.
I can probably describe its location
That
better.
might be a
Fix-
I
call
think
to the DPW and have them assess it again
What do you
and
call it?
find out who belongs to it,
Yeah.
get it
What do
fixed.
you call
What's
it?
the, what are we calling it?
Some little
What's
kid's
the
gonna walk
sinkhole?
across the
I called it a
crosswalk and
sinkhole.
in. It's
Fred,
not
what-
a dog or.
What do we call it? What's the, what is that?
Oh.
There's a grate, yeah, but there's a grate there as well.
Oh, yeah, catch basin.
There's a catch basin.
Yeah, but it is, there's like a sinkhole.
Right.
Yeah,
Next
so-
to the
next
catch
to it, yeah,
Right.
What's happening is
yeah,
the
to describe
water's
it.
coming out of the
Oh,
pipe
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
Fix
big.
the sinkhole next
To the catch basin,
to the
just so that they know.
catch basin.
Listen to Tony,
It's a storm drain.
but
Storm
you're
drain.
talking about
Storm
having,
drain, yeah.
having DPW check with the state
Yeah, well, that's there.
Okay.
and
That's
find out whose
That'll be
responsibility that is,
That'll
and
be
whoever's
there.
it is, to fix it,
There, yeah.
quick.
Okay, I've added that.
Okay. Right?
I had come up after we did that meeting, I had come up here and talked to Ellen about it. And she relayed the message downstairs, and it was supposed to get relayed to the DPW, and she's still there.
Yeah,
There's someone dipped in a
Is
barrel.
that bad?
Okay. And finally, the geese problem.
They're aware of it.
yeah, I got a little bit more specific on that
Yes,
somewhere.
I like the bird eggs electronic.
Yes,
Where the heck, oh, here we are, up here.
the bird eggs.
Yeah, I wanna do 3 things with the geese.
Is that yours?
Enforce the do not feed the birds.
Mhm.
Yes.
That alone might have a lot to do with it,
Yes.
because we know we have these new reporters that come down.
And how do we enforce it?
I did it when I was
What's your
a kid.
recommendation?
Well, yeah.
Shuttle sit
Bring the-
lounge here with
Bring the
the truck.
stale Wonder Bread back down and,
Well, we
Yeah,
did,
that's an idea.
originally, we discussed whether we should put small signs there that say, do not feed the geese.
It's a crime
I
because
think they gotta be big signs.
we used to have, Pete Marsh used to bring half a dozen geese over there, pecans, and people would be able to feed the pecans and everything was hunky-dory, but the goose population
Yeah.
just ballooned. And, this is hardly our problem, this is a universal problem
Oh,
now.
please, yeah, don't look at Lake Watertower.
Yeah, but we gotta do something about that.
Okay. I like how, okay, create ongoing program to keep geese off the property.
Yes.
Um,
good.
install maybe one small, just so it's not overwhelming, one small do not feed the birds sign.
One.
You're gonna have to do it at each
Yeah,
corner.
oh, yeah,
Okay,
right.
2,
Yeah, probably 4,
4.
yeah,
North,
probably.
south, east, and west. That way you have,
Well,
I
it's
mean,
a
we're not,
triangular pond, so.
we're not
Not
talking
that
about,
Three.
Not that it'll
You
make any
know.
difference to some of these people.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're not
I wonder
talking
if
about these gigantic signs.
Yeah, just like little, so maybe I'll use the word discreet, just so that people know that they're not like,
Maybe
really
you
ugly
use the word,
signs.
please, do not feed the geese.
Yes.
okay,
Right.
install
But that's
discreet,
That's whoever words it.
Yes. Then
do
put,
not
smile, you're on camera.
feed the,
Hey, that's an idea. Install surveillance cameras, why not, they're everywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big Brother is watching, hey, please do not feed the geese, Big Brother is watching.
and then install, I'm fine with the bird X if others are, install bird X electronic
I'd say
goose
if-
repeller.
Or similar,
If the
because you
price-
can't stick with
If
one
If the
brand.
price that we saw for the effectiveness, it's
Looks like pretty good.
pound for pound, that's
Yeah.
the way to
Yeah.
go.
And they use them on golf courses and
Okay,
the
yeah.
other
alright,
I used to use one similar to that at the store, because they would come up out of the creek, and then they would come and sit on the driveway, and of course, we all know what happens when geese eat what comes out the other end, and it would,
Yeah, constant.
you'd have to
Yeah.
clean that up, so just putting one of those things in there, but the fine line you have to watch for is that considered harassing wildlife.
other birds. Yeah.
Yeah.
These guys said that it's the frequency. If you look at the website, is attuned to
Geese alone.
geese.
They have one model.
But he's still gonna say the same thing, but,
Right. And I don't know.
but they aren't invasive.
Yeah.
Geese are not here year round naturally.
The Canadian geese are not native to Newbury.
That's right.
Yes, otherwise they'd be Newbury geese.
These are what I call USA geese.
and how do you suggest, do we add some more meat on the bone to, if geese show up, drive them out? I don't know what you wanna say about that.
Well,
Well,
because
well,
the
up
thing
in
is,
season.
one,
That was my
piece-
comment,
the piece
alright?
of rope between two people and walk, and they don't like
You
it.
know
I
about
paid
that.
attention.
Yeah, yeah.
By
It's
the way,
difficult.
you see
but I do.
in the report, he mentions that
That's-
there were very few geese at the pond in 2018. How does that? How did he watch? I don't believe
He
that.
was there every day. I mean, he was
He
there a
no,
lot.
he wasn't there every day.
No, but he was there frequently,
Wow.
and he may not have been literally working on it, but who knows?
Well, he
Maybe
did
he
tell
lived.
me that whenever he
He was
was
in
in that
Amesbury.
pond, the geese would not come in.
There you go. So we need to put a
Need
mannequin
somebody in the
the
pond
pond.
walking around all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, they are pretty nuts.
Do we want a note
I
around?
robot.
You probably want to drop that last one
What's
if the
that?
geese show up, drive them out, but,
Okay.
but that's what I would recommend, but, you're gonna have to have the neighbors
Yeah,
around all the time, I know
Right.
they are.
Yeah. yes, I think. Okay, so that's.
Well, no,
And then
Well,
we
after
built
you
it,
made
didn't
that
we? We
comment,
done
I did run at them
Yeah,
yelling
we-
once,
so
but
we-
ended up
and
looking
I thought it was
close.
kind of
And it didn't
important.
work.
Wait a minute.
I thought it was kind of important to have the property surveyed to establish where the street boundaries are around the edge, because Tim is gonna need to know where that street boundary is to.
Hadn't
as far as
Greenie
planted
done
trees.
his
Isn't
survey?
there a
No, I
map?
don't believe
Isn't
so.
I don't think so, because I remember asking years ago about that when first looking at,
I
you know,
have
what do we
not
do
seen
with
it.
the upper green and the lower green, you know, where's the property line? And
No one knows.
No,
nobody
what
seemed to
Green
know.
and Yard did was use the street, the pavement,
Hmm.
that's what they used. They
But
didn't
that
Do you
use
need
the
that?
roadway.
That doesn't, well,
Have you seen the map that?
Is it a nice to have or a need to have?
it's probably a
Eva
need to have,
has
so
an
it's not being
ancient
planted
map
on
that shows
state
No,
property,
that's not
or if
right.
trees
Not
have to
the
come down.
boundary
So
line.
this,
on
This-
this,
the town
this
can't
border
take down
around
state
here,
trees.
Yeah.
this end is not necessarily,
Kind of, sort of.
That's
a-
not the street line, that's the
Yeah.
pavement, that's the pavement line.
that's the physical.
But
It's
Yeah.
not the
No.
Yeah.
ownership.
Yeah.
It's
No,
not the ownership.
somebody put survey marks on here.
Yeah, they surveyed where that pavement line was. That's what they showed.
So this is not necessarily
they didn't go
The
through to the,
the
to look
ownership
through the,
line. This-
Right.
This is just,
you
They
need-
didn't do the title search, and
The
also
title,
they
right.
could find out where, exactly how far off the road
I
was.
mean, if
Mi-
you'll
New
notice on
Greece
this,
property and.
on the Green Street side, they do show where the monuments are, which I'm assuming is why what they're called.
There's no,
monument.
Well, when they were.
I haven't seen any monuments out there, any boundary monuments,
Well,
that's what
they,
you're talking about.
yeah, see?
No, I think you're talking about my boundary monument. Oh,
Iron
here,
Pike
what do we
Found,
got here?
Iron
What's
Pike
this here?
Found, Iron Pike
DPW,
Found.
No, no, I see, iron
That's-
pipe found.
Okay.
What's that
OHW.
mean?
That is probably the line on that side.
These are their boundary lines, yes.
Yeah, but that's over here.
Right,
what's
and
over
that's what
here?
I'm saying. No,
But
these,
they gotta, they have to have
see,
a
this one.
benchmark someplace.
But
Oh,
when,
yeah,
when they
well,
were
they
trying to
said-
find them on the
Oh,
island, they
right,
called them
right.
monuments.
Yeah, right, they are monuments.
Yeah, so that's why I used the word, not like,
No, I knew what you meant,
not
Yeah,
like
yeah.
this
but I thought you
guy.
were talking about on this
Not like the
side.
Benedict
I
Arnold
thought you were
monument.
talking
Right,
about on
right,
this
yeah.
side.
No, but
Yeah.
they did
Yeah.
have these marked.
Yeah.
So they did find those.
Oh, what's this here? What's this say here? OHW?
W,
What the heck is that?
unless it says MHL, it depends on which way you're looking at.
Overhead wire.
Oh, brilliant, well done, that's the,
That's because the
Oh,
original
that's-
set has all the
yeah,
abbreviations, but I
now
only
this side,
printed
yeah.
2 pages that showed what we were
Well, it's
looking
good,
at.
it shows the wires here, Tim, on this
Yeah.
plan.
yeah,
That's
you got
good.
it, that was,
Which is
So,
probably in the street
I
right away,
suppose-
more than likely.
it does give clarity as to
Where's the
what we're
scale?
legally,
Yeah, I'm happy to have it.
And the layout of the
What
street is
the-
just,
Tim says.
because they'll have the
he
layout
might
of the
think
street.
they need it.
yeah,
so,
To know, especially on the high road
Here.
side,
yep, put it in,
where state property line is.
yeah.
Okay,
Says
and I'll
here.
make a note that Tim
it's 0,
needs it.
Mesh grain.
well, that's about 38 feet. That could be a 40-foot layout, or it could be a 50-foot layout. Probably one or the other. So if it was a 50-foot layout, 40,
And I think that covers everything on
50.
Fred's, because we already added the maintenance
50-foot
item.
layout would bring that
Yeah.
way over to
Put that
here,
number and then,
which would put that Norway maple is
Right.
right on the street
Oh, I
line.
didn't know what that was.
no, I don't know. But the other thing we need to put on, the last thing has to
Mhm.
be an ongoing maintenance.
Yeah, I have that. I have
Yeah, I mean, that's to tie them in, this isn't just a 1-year fix.
I think that, that number 11, that should be for Memorial Day, not just Flag Day. Because I know over in Byfield, you get them put out prior to
Yeah.
Memorial Day.
So at the
I'll
moment,
make that.
we haven't permission to use it, I mean, I don't know what
I
happens.
think it's,
We just
just
do it
do
anyway.
it, yeah.
Well, I think the power company will give you permission, but you gotta get permission from them. You can't just stick it on that pole. Believe me, they get real upset. They do, oh, believe me.
You're not even supposed to staple a little
Yeah,
gloss
I know.
fence on
I know.
their poles,
And look at
but
the
you know
poles.
what?
The poles are full of staples, there's so many of them, that's what's keeping
What holds
them.
the poles up?
Hmm?
That's what holds the poles up, all the
All
stuff.
those staples,
That's right.
It would, What would
Okay.
it take for, you know, a phone call or just an email
Again,
to
it's a
National
recommendation to
Grid?
the selectmen.
No, I think you're 100% correct.
And I don't follow this
Yeah.
exactly. What is it recommending? I guess I don't understand it.
They wanna put flags on the telephone poles.
Old Town looks anti-American. All right? Every other park you'll see around here anywhere, they put up flags,
Hmm.
especially for the 4th of July. And Memorial.
So this is
We do
and
have a
Flag Day.
flag pole.
This is like a
Right, but this
Yeah,
is
This
just,
is like a bracket attached to
Right,
the flag.
right,
goes
right.
they just said,
That's an act.
did you ever?
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
right,
Byfield
yeah, right,
is-
say that,
Yeah, you see.
If you're
right.
out
You ever
there,
go
Ah.
through Rowley or
Yeah.
Byfield or
That's-
Merrimack or
Yeah,
West
Raleigh,
Newbury?
yeah. I mean,
but it was
I mean,
suggested
it's just.
at a selectmen's meeting
it to-
to do that.
Yeah,
And they have money in the budget, it's budgeted every year for Memorial Day celebration.
Right.
And they were gonna use that to buy flags to do just this.
Yeah.
And they would only be up on those days.
No,
not
they'd be up
necessarily,
for the
but
summer,
maybe.
for the season.
Oh, yeah. See,
yeah,
I don't
well,
love that.
You don't
I
have
don't
to do it
really
for the
like that.
season, but it's nice to do it on Memorial Day,
Yeah.
Flag Day, and the
These are,
4th of
You
July.
know, they're
Right.
up in the air hanging,
Yeah.
they're not like on
Yeah,
the ground.
no, I know
Also
what you mean,
leave
but
them
I don't like the
Most
look
of them
of
leave
them.
them up because it's easy to leave them up.
I
You know,
just
we
think
don't
that
wanna
it
see
Well,
it.
makes
because
it look.
somebody has to physically go up and
Yeah.
take them down, and
Right.
where are they being stored?
Yeah,
The-
because I sort of like the natural look, and I feel like that takes away from the natural beauty of
Well,
the
they'd probably
tree.
be like on Route 1.
Yeah, but even so,
Yeah,
I mean,
that
one
was,
A.
that was the main.
One
main
A.
thing,
Yeah.
They're not on Green Street, Hanover, not
Well,
all the way
Hanover might be
around.
No,
nice,
so
but there's not
I'm-
many. The poles are on the other side on Hanover.
I'm neutral in the whole thing, but,
No.
Yeah, you
There's
should.
one vote against anyways. so.
Yeah.
but,
Do we
He
wanna
wants, he
take a
wants,
vote?
he wants some of the Union Jacks on it.
Well, a
No,
number
I'm
of
just-
people brought this up, and they
Yeah.
brought it up in the meetings, they brought it up, I think they brought it
I
up in the
think
library.
this may be one to bring up in the next forum.
okay, just to
Yeah.
get input.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
You
vote
know,
strongly
if they-
against.
Well,
and I will-
okay, well,
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
it, but,
Okay.
yeah, I should be. it
You'll
should
get
be
used
a democracy
to it.
here.
By the time someone's over here, say, oh,
Yeah,
that's
you're not
think-
an
I don't
American.
like
Wait, 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 you're not an American, is that it?
Yeah.
No. I just I like
Anti-flag.
natural beauty. I like looking out on the green and seeing green. I don't want to see man-made flags.
We're already gonna powder it with
But you won't
signs.
be able to
Let's,
see them because the trees will be in the way.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
is that it
Chop all the
for
trees.
tonight?
No,
Are we
we've got
gonna-
to,
no?
firstly, okay,
didn't see
we're
the
done on the
agenda.
list then.
Well, are we going to, do we need a vote for this? This
I'm
is the,
not sure.
To
I
accept,
would think so.
Except, okay, shall we,
I
well,
We,
we haven't seen anything, but we,
Yeah.
Amelia Taylor's read.
Yeah.
Well, I
One question on the flags. Could we, because I really strong, and I know we'll put it for
Okay.
discussion, but I
Yeah.
really like the idea of like natural beauty as
You
opposed to
should do that
man-made.
at the
I agree.
hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for the flags, would
Flag
they be, so what is the suggestion for when they would be up?
Memorial
Memorial
Day through probably Labor Day,
Memorial Day.
The entire
and-
summer?
No.
maybe even Columbus Day.
well then, let's.
But they'll be
go
doing
with that.
away with that, Charlie, he was a
I
bad
think he's
guy.
put down Flag Day. Day, I know, Flag Day.
He'll be a Native
Okay.
American.
I was gonna say, he's not a native.
There are, yeah.
People don't know.
Yeah, I
Just
really
People
hate that.
don't know about
Okay.
properly
Flag
flying
day.
the
Just put
flag,
down
they don't know
flag
how to
day.
fold the flag.
For the
On
discussion.
flag days. Ugh.
Yeah.
Don't like that. But, okay. I'll put it on since I'm over the world.
I agree, I like looking at, I look out onto a greenness.
That doesn't have.
Oh, we were
flags.
gonna do it
I
there,
really
too.
don't like the way they look.
There's one flag outside your thing and that's fine, it's very tasteful and it's good.
That pole's in bad shape.
Is it?
Yeah.
I like the other poles personally, I like the other pole back there that,
Actually,
in the picture, the one
the
with
color
the,
needs
Oh,
it.
yeah, I like the one that goes.
I
there.
take that back, it is, I think the wood is fine. But
Actually-
it needs paint horribly, and it needs the ropes replaced. And now that we have a bucket truck, that should
Oh,
be
do that.
easy.
So.
One last question, for whether we want to add this to the list that I just thought that people have raised in the past. So you know how there's a light on the green that
Yep.
shines on the pond, but it's broken? Do we want to discuss whether it's worth fixing that, like for the skaters or whatever?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Where is it?
Where's it?
It's
Yeah.
on the Green Street side.
Yeah, it's on the Green
First
Street, I
side.
think
Is
it's
it
on
on,
like a,
Hank,
I
on
think
the
it's on a
telephone
pole.
pole?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. I guess my recommendation would be fix it, cause I think it might be nice for people to use
Yeah.
in the winter.
Plus it probably has to stand by,
I
the
didn't know
flag's
that.
up 24 hours a day.
I didn't even
No,
know.
but the flag has gotta have a
Oh, you mean
light
like
on
the
it if
actual
it's gonna be up
flagpole.
It's
at night,
supposed
right?
to be,
It doesn't,
It doesn't shine on the flag?
there's no,
no, but the street lights will illuminate the flags.
Yeah, cause they'd be on the poles.
Cause the DPW doesn't
Put it
take
in.
flags down at night or
I-
anything and put
No.
them
I mean,
on.
I've seen it, but then
you
that's,
kidding me, they don't even
It
put it
doesn't-
up and down
it
right when
doesn't
it's
work, that's
half
why.
mast, so
Any,
give me a break.
any objections to fixing the light or having it up for speed?
No, that's a good point.
No, put that in there.
Let's do a little bit more.
However-
Fix it.
However,
Oh, he's always throwing a
well, so there's gotta be a however on this one. Now,
Are we gonna-
I have a lot of concerns about light pollution. And I wouldn't think we'd want that going all night long, right? I believe it used to have a switch. That the kids could turn it on and off.
That'd be a good idea.
I think it did have a switch, pretty sure it did.
All right, we'll put that,
Yeah.
maintain or
With
repair.
switch,
And it should go off automatically at, say, 11 o'clock or
Yeah.
something.
yeah, I wonder
Yeah.
if they could do like motion sensor.
Ooh,
That might be too
Possibly
high tech
so.
for
that
Newbury.
wouldn't, that'll get rid of the fox.
Okay.
I
With
don't think that
switch.
would work
Okay.
very well.
No, it wouldn't.
Okay, with switch to turn on, or
Well-
turn off when not in use.
Called a timer.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
I know, I have it
Right.
everywhere in my house, you know.
So,
You don't have to
discuss points.
The
Discuss.
copper.
Yeah, was there anything else, I wonder if it's worth pausing for a minute, is there anything else anyone can think of that was raised, any of the discussions that?
No, but this is just to present to this next forum,
Yeah,
and hopefully,
yeah, people can raise stuff if they
if
have.
we think of something, we'll bring it
I've
up.
got the
Hopefully
list.
other people will bring up stuff if
Here was the attendee from the list.
Now, next time you're gonna have a,
Trees, there
people
was
identify
the fire
themselves, so you
pit,
don't have to go through comment 1, 2, 3.
Oh, yeah.
fire pit and picnic table.
Well, I'm gonna get going.
Yeah.
Yep,
I'm
go.
all-
Okay,
I'm all
thanks
for
for
it.
your help.
Thank you.
Shall we adjourn? Are we done?
Almost.
No, because we've got,
Give it my back.
the important thing was Jan's, meeting, to attend the, select.
We haven't got an answer, oh, yes, oh, okay, right, oh, yeah, I got a note on that.
Because of
Yep.
our.
I believe the whole committee does not need to go, that we just had, the chairman
Right,
would go, or if you can't make it, you designate somebody to go.
I can make.
So that's the
second
presentation to the
Yeah.
selectmen, you mean?
Yeah, but I'm hoping that we get the selectmen our preliminary list.
It's up to you.
So if you type that to, this is the, because the select.
Yeah, can read
And I'll
I gave
check.
you this, so you have it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Oh, okay, thanks, Jay.
So,
Okay,
because I think we've got to throw the ball in their court straight away, because they've been rather lax on the last time we did it. And that will be, I'll make a comment accordingly.
I don't know, the only thing on
So-
that, I mean, it
Is
was
this what
over
we're
the
looking at here?
holidays, so I give people the benefit of the doubt.
Then this is what was in the newspaper, right?
Yeah,
This is the story from the newspaper that Jen Solis had written.
yeah. Yes,
I don't know what that is.
that was from, the recommendations on the upgrading.
Oh.
That's the first bit of this, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're done by that.
12.
2019.
What's it proving?
Say 12/4.
20, no,
12,
Well,
4,
well,
2019, yeah.
Yeah,
go with
yeah.
Yes.
Reading upside down.
Whenever you go into somebody's office
Okay,
and stuff
so,
on their desk, you gotta look and see what's going on.
So yes, I'll attend the 211 one, which is next week, and
And I'll get the list.
get
out
a list,
in-
and I'll just confront and say this is the proposal.
So we have
And
to-
maybe I'll
So what is,
forget
then
to
we
put
have
the
to set a
flags
hearing.
up the
I
list.
mean,
I'm sort of with you, and I like the natural look, but flag days,
Yeah,
Well, it's
Yeah,
not like it's
I
gonna
hear
be
your
300
concern.
flags.
No, I know,
No.
but I know what you're talking about, where they stick out for, I don't
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
but that's okay.
Okay, so then, now we have to then plan and discuss the next forum. Where
Yep.
we're going to do this.
Yeah, when are we gonna do it? That's
we
right.
are gonna have another sit-down meeting before the
No.
forum, or is
So
it?
we don't need
don't
to
need it.
now, because we've got all the.
Amelia's just gonna revamp
Revamp,
this,
yeah.
send it to us for
And are you guys
approval,
able
or?
to send comments to me directly? This is sort of
Yeah,
like
well,
Janice
it shouldn't be, but
Single,
just.
well,
yeah.
Yeah, you can't reply all,
They
No,
could,
right.
people could reply to
And
me
have-
on there.
have people keep talk, you can't have a discussion
Nope.
via the email, is what it boils down to. And it's
You
again
can
a
talk to
violation of the
individuals.
open meeting law.
Oh, as
according,
part-
this is
but it's-
according to the open meeting law,
Right,
Bodies,
that have appointed,
I don't know where you are, appointed, where is it?
yeah, just read this whole deal.
Bodies appointed by a public official solely for the purpose of advising the official on a decision that individual could make alone, this is an individual, are not public bodies subject to the open meeting law. For example, a school superintendent appoints a 5-member advisory board to assist her in nominating candidates. That advisory board would not be subject to open meeting law. 2.
No,
Oh,
that's
okay,
something.
no, I'm just looking. I read these.
but, okay, so,
However,
we
I like to,
Night,
Stay
Tracy.
with the,
protocol is,
I like to stay
we've
with
got
the
used to
meeting
it
law.
now, so.
But this is Mass State Open Meeting Law.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
just one paragraph that
Yeah.
I happened to
Yeah,
notice
no,
while
I hear
I
you.
was perusing the.
I hear you.
documents.
Robin, may I have a question? Put a question up?
Citizens' concerns?
I missed the front end of the meeting. Has any talk been had about expanding your scope to the lower grade?
Ah,
Not
Good
from us,
question.
we can't do it.
This is just up at green.
This is just upper green, but I think Tim mentioned it last time.
Yeah.
He did, he's gonna
That
do the
once we've
inspection.
got all this, the idea going forward, and because he's going to be hiring cherry pickers, whatever it is,
We have one.
and getting the stump grinder,
Right.
then it would seem natural to
Take care of
take care of the lower green as well.
Just
So-
the trees.
But no, our
And
charge
do the
was
inspection. of the
upper
trees.
green,
Right.
period.
Yeah, and do the inspection of the trees.
And the second thing is, you have a schedule in the budget you're working with?
No,
That's,
the,
Not my
we don't
concern.
have a budget at all, other than his budget, which he told us what it was, which deals with the normal tree maintenance,
It's 50,000
which is 50,000.
for Tim.
That's it, right, that's his budget.
that's his budget, plus,
But
The-
the
the
upper
tree-
green specifically has a legacy left by the Nunn Family Trust, specifically to be invested in upper green only in terms of new or renewal of trees.
well, not just trees, yeah.
$54,000 was set aside and designated for the upper green.
Have you asked that to be your money?
No, no, we're just an advisory board.
We
Yeah.
notified them that we know that this money is there,
Yeah.
and that was the basis actually of us to plan, plus there's another $9,430 that we have in a fund called tree planting.
Right. Tree fund.
But it's not just for the green.
No,
it's
that's,
tree
the whole
planting.
that's,
But
yeah,
no,
that's
this is a specific, this is not the tree wood money, this is a specific fund that was put
put
aside
for
for
the
tree planting.
upper green only.
But I think the tree assessment and the use of the highway department bucket truck, which is part of the forestry department, which is part of Tim's, I think that's gonna come under the town's budget of having guys working that truck and taking care of.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the
maintenance.
purchase of trees
Purchase the trees.
would be
Well,
different.
Right, Right, but I'm just saying the assessment and pruning of the trees and then the taking down of the bad ones, if that
Yeah.
is the situation, that's all gonna come out of the town budget.
Right.
But no, we don't have any budget.
No, we don't.
All we can do is recommend to the selectmen,
That
which
was-
we did on the 4th of December, and
I
nothing
didn't
really
do
happened.
anything.
Nothing happened.
So you no authority and no budget. I think you should volunteer in Iowa to run their carcasses.
That's an idea.
Total numbers for them.
Right.
We are a committee, not a commission.
Right,
Right.
So we were specifically charged with finding out what we could do to bring the green back without destroying it.
And having two
So
public
that it's-
Yeah, and
forums so that the
and
town could
soliciting
give their opinion.
local,
I briefed through this. I don't understand it. Does anybody really know what this guy?
Well, I haven't read it yet either, I just saw it tonight.
I just got it tonight.
I read it and I had to go.
Good luck. Good luck.
Thank you.
It's a long time since I've
That's an
done.
encouragement.
Well, we had asked for a copy of it because we keep saying that man who's working on the pond, which just didn't seem
Yeah.
really great.
I couldn't remember his name.
We
I'm
could
on
never
it.
remember the
Yeah, I
poor
met the
man's
guy
name,
down
so.
there. Nice enough guy. I just.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so we
he-
wanted
and
to
he's-
get the
And he
information.
seems to have done the job because according to his finding, he has reduced.
As long as he's there, yeah.
Yeah, as long as he, but it needs to be something that has to be monitored going down the line, because as he points out, it comes back in a year, just like that. I mean, the whole thing can
Well,
restart.
Tim made the point, good point, you know, in dry years,
Yeah.
not so much of a problem. So I have a feeling they've been fertilizing the lawn with chemical fertilizers, is my guess, not organic fertilizers.
And that's
I
it.
don't
Probably-
think they've been fertilizing with anything.
I think they have, but
Have
they have the
Well, they have
equipment, and I've seen them,
they
I've seen them
regrass
fertilize,
everything.
I've seen
I've
them
seen-
fertilize the upper green. Maybe they were liming, they were doing something.
Right.
My general comment is I don't know this guy.
Do we
I went
need to
to.
motion?
To adjourn? Oh.
Well,
wait,
very good.
another comment.
Accept the-
I talked to this guy. He gave me his card, told me to go to his website. Go to his website. There's nothing on there to speak of that has any substance to it. I don't know who this guy is, what he's doing, but he does a nice performance.
Yeah.
My suggestion is you get a second opinion from people who do this for a living.
Right.
Well, he's developing this whole system. This is a
Again,
one-off
This is-
prototype thing. He's got patents on all this and
right.
seems to be working, so.
Well, in his opinion, my suggestion
Oh, it's a
is
visual
to
thing.
Yeah.
talk to somebody who has a proven track record in this.
Come to the forum, when
Yeah.
we're gonna set a
So
date,
that-
and bring that up.
Yeah.
Let's
Just
bring
brought
Mr.
it-
Higgins.
Yeah, okay, but
Just brought it up
I
for
mean, in
your
front,
notes.
when you have the bigger public forum here.
Yeah, I think I'll look him up.
Because other people may have talked to him and been out there and who knows, because, you know, a lot of people would go by and say, I wonder what he's doing over there. So you don't know what other people have also discussed with Mr. Higgins that they might have checked already, so let's, maybe somebody else has information if, at the forum is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that may
we're
be
not-
the case.
I'm not competent to comment on him.
Yeah.
I don't think.
But I do think it's a good idea to speak to someone else to just say, what are the other options for removing algae?
Yeah, there are chemical options, I know.
Okay, next.
Yeah, so
meet
when's
for
the forum?
Forum, yeah,
That's what we need
because
to
we
get at
need
here.
2 weeks notice.
no,
Nope.
that's a public meeting, which is what we
Public hearing.
firmly found out we are not
Right,
doing.
right, yeah.
Oh, and Jan, are you able to bring the tree pictures again for us to?
They're right here.
And are they, because we changed the list a bit, are they all
We
The
have-
only one
we
that
have
we
to-
don't have, or I guess there's 2 that we don't have. We don't have the elm, and then we don't have the white spruce and the Norway spruce.
Okay, can you,
I can try to find some.
Oh, yeah, just to make sure we
And
got all the
it's
right
the
ones.
mulberry tree, the white mulberry.
Fine.
And we decided now that I don't ever throw anything in it.
Yeah,
There you go.
right.
Okay, we don't need 2 weeks' notice, but we need enough time, enough lead time, so
We're
that we
gonna
can
do
get
it
an article in
Saturday.
the newspaper
Is it
and,
gonna be a Saturday again?
Yeah, I would think that's probably best for the general
Yeah,
public.
people can.
Couple of the
But
selectmen.
somebody didn't want
They
it in the
didn't want
morning, yeah.
it so
Yes,
early, did they?
said, well, because some of our selectmen are self-employed and are out working first thing in the morning, so they didn't, it depends on when we have it and stuff
guess
too,
it's-
but they suggested that where a lot of people do their chores in the morning, that it might be better if we could have it in the early afternoon instead of, what did we have it at, 10:30 or
We
something?
did 10.
We had it 10,
Yeah.
because the auction was started
Oh,
at
yeah,
11,
that's right.
remember?
And where was that, at the library?
So,
Yes.
Can we get it?
Well, it
Well,
depends on what
we
day
got
we
a
should.
date.
Yeah,
go.
yeah, let's do-
Individual.
give us some,
It's easy
I
enough to
think-
see, just go out on their website.
My opinion is get
Just
it
get
done sooner
soon,
than
yeah.
Yeah,
than
right.
later. Get it
Okay.
done,
Not this Saturday, but next Saturday.
because
That ought to be
we
it.
gotta get approval to get this gypsum thing started, we gotta get
Well,
approval
15.
to get the tree thing started, which
15th
in my
of what?
opinion should have
Yeah,
been
yeah.
started already.
Oh, it should have been done. Oh,
Leave
Should-
them
yeah,
alone.
it could have been done.
I'm all alone.
Wonderful.
Just don't read.
February 15th.
That's a week from Saturday,
I'm just throwing that out.
is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
Sounds
is pretty
good to
quick
me.
though.
And
Is
it's
that
also
good?
a
Wanna do that?
holiday weekend,
Do you
in case
wanna-
anyone cares.
It's what?
President's Day weekend.
Oh, yes, it
Would
is.
we wanna do the 22nd?
I'm in the UK then. But I don't have to be there.
No, you should
Yeah,
do
you can
that.
skip the UK.
So we're up to the 29th.
I'm still in the UK.
What the heaven's sakes, when you get back?
On the.
You're gonna have to go with the 15th.
So it'll be the 7th then of March.
You're gonna have to go with the 15th. At what, 1:30 something?
15th.
make it right after lunch if,
1:30.
1:30.
now the selectmen are all planning on showing up, is that what you're getting at?
No, I am not. I am simply reiterating a comment that I was given from several board members
Just
Who
send it up.
wanted to go
More
and
than
didn't,
two?
and I don't think that the auction thing helped either.
You did.
That-
No.
That
That's
just,
for sure.
I don't know, I was pretty impressed with the turnout we had myself.
Yeah, like some of them came in late, but yep. They did.
well, I mean,
Yeah, I
a
know.
lot
I
of
was
people were
surprised how
very
many we had.
interested in the auction too, so it's possible that we could get
Thank
less
you.
or more,
Thank
who
you.
knows? It
Yeah.
depends on weather and fickle. Good
Yeah.
night, Jim.
Yep.
So we're gonna do this forum before we go to before there's any speaking to the Board of Selectmen, is that?
Yes,
No,
Evidently, but we gotta get moving.
Speaking of Board of
But
Select,
I don't know how we're getting
Will
this,
be the-
we don't even know if we can get the library, how are you
No.
looking at it already?
We don't know what.
If we can even get the
Oh, I
library,
thought you were looking that up.
I can't
No.
look at it.
all right, let's.
Well, you
let's-
said you
I'm
were
looking
looking
at
it up.
it.
Look at-
Oh.
No, I said all
oh,
all you have to do is look at their website.
when are we due to go into selectmen, the 12th or the 27th?
Well,
They set their
selectmen is-
meetings,
Is the 11th,
11th,
which
and,
I'm gonna go, I'll get along to that one.
They have every 2 weeks.
correct,
on
He's going
Tuesdays.
on the 11th.
although they did have one tonight.
Right.
This is a public hearing, it's a totally different, it's a
They
joint,
were called in,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I understand.
because this is really the planning board with,
Oh, that's
Yeah.
neither here nor there.
Right.
Yeah.
so.
I don't see how we can not do the 15th at 1:30.
Unless the library's not open.
The library's not, is there a plan B?
Gotta
How about the
book it.
meeting room next door?
I'm gonna tell you that there's probably not a good shot that we're gonna get the library next weekend, but
Why?
I don't know. Because
Because
they've got
it's
so many
President's
things
Day?
going on.
Okay.
No, they're constantly booked in there. There's constant things going on at the library in that room all the time. They really,
Too bad we couldn't know the answer to that.
Weekday is not viable, is it?
Not
Okay.
in the afternoon, no, I wouldn't think so.
I don't think we get good turnout.
Let's,
Thank you.
I
Oh, that was a big
I
wind
was
up.
waiting for that. My end.
That was a lady sneeze.
Yeah.
Okay.
townofnewbury.org.
Should we shoot for the 15th?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
And who's gonna look into that?
Chan.
Because, if you want to get
And-
some of these things starting, the spring will be on and,
Oh, yeah, we gotta do this.
Before,
We've missed the boat already.
yeah, you're right. I mean, well, there was supposed to be.
Newbury Public Library.
Newbury.
I'm trying to make sure it understands me, cause I'll get it from.
That's funny, we were watching, what the heck was it? Was it not Jeopardy? What the heck was the thing they had on there? Oh, they had something or other had strawberry in it, and I said to Nancy, I said, I suppose if I said strawberry something, they would have said no. Strawberry something, oh, right.
Yeah, I have that.
Ignore New England accent.
Yeah.
I've gotta get
Well, I
next
have a
door,
problem with
can
my,
I adjourn myself?
Yeah.
My accent.
Can I
get
be
my
excused?
Yeah, we still have a quorum.
forum meeting.
Let me know
Thank you.
what the idea is to take care of.
Okay, we're adjourning the meeting.
No, we need to vote on this.
What?
What are we
Which one?
voting
Which
on?
one?
On when we're gonna have this, forum. Do we not?
I make a motion that we have it on the 15th.
Second.
Okay,
Anybody wanna wait
Everyone-
till I get there and we can
Aye.
see if we can or not?
Well,
I'm
we just
looking,
voted.
I'm on the
Yeah.
13.
Oh, good.
do we have
I'm
to vote
using
on
up
the
all my
list?
minutes
No,
for
we
you,
don't.
Fred.
What'd you
Quiet.
say?
No, the list of, your list.
What about
not-
it?
Do we need to vote, do we need to have it approved? No, we don't, we're correcting that. I don't think so.
Okay, at the moment, I do not
We
see
will.
anything booked.
Good.
But it's
Okay,
gonna
we're
get
in.
booked like yesterday.
Okay,
1 o'clock?
1:30.
1:30.
Okay.
2, 3:30, what? Or-
1:30.
Okay,
What
Tony motion,
time
Fred
too?
second.
1:30.
to 3:30. 1:30
Right.
to 3:30.
1:30.
Yeah.
That's the meeting. You wanna know the meeting?
Yeah.
The date is 15th, the time is 1:30.
Right,
It'll go as long as it goes.
Not if we're booking a room in the
Oh,
library.
Yeah.
oh, yeah, 3:30, fine.
yeah.
Oh.
So
I thought you were talking about a
now
notice.
I know I'm single.
Now we have to,
Right.
can you, talk to Jen Solis and,
So is the
Yeah,
motion
well,
passed
okay.
unanimously?
somebody?
Yep.
It's easy enough.
Awesome, right.
Yeah.
Now we're done, right?
We're done.
Move we adjourn.
Second,
Okay, everyone
All right.
done.
8